Johnny knows Jimmy, who owns a spot here, and every time he goes through Midland, Texas, he parks there, right? But what we've done is essentially create that, and we're at 1,390 spaces as of today. We have 7 or 8 new locations per day, and we're able to scale into that and do this, tens of thousands of times a month, and put these parties together and facilitate a great experience, and ultimately create more parking for drivers, create more options for drivers.
Welcome to Auto Transport Co-Pilot. Our guest today is Evan Shelley, co-founder and CEO of Truck Parking Club, a platform that addresses the long-standing truck parking shortage by connecting truckers with property owners offering vacant parking spaces across the United States. Evan has leveraged his background in real estate and civil engineering to create a tech startup that helps truckers find and reserve parking spaces, reducing wasted time and fuel costs. With his deep expertise in both technology and logistics, Evan's innovative approach to solving the parking problem has helped truckers secure convenient, safe spaces to park, especially in an industry where space is at a premium. Evan's work goes beyond just parking. He's also focused on building a community that connects truckers with property owners, creating lasting solutions for an essential industry. Stick around till the end of the show. We might get a sneak peek into how Truck Parking Club works and get a private demo from Evan. Welcome, Evan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so I want to start off by asking you a little bit about your background. I was looking on LinkedIn and I was just learning about some of your background, and you have an interesting background in real estate, and then somehow you end up building a very interesting company, Airbnb, as you call it, I think, for truckers to find parking, where you're connecting property owners with truck drivers or carriers to allow them to park their trucks anywhere in the country, right? But I'd be curious to go back to the day when you had nothing to do with trucking, perhaps, and to today. How did we end up today with you solving this problem for the trucking industry?
Yeah, so my background is real estate, and through doing real estate deals, specifically commercial land deals, I figured out about the truck parking issue in 2021. I was doing a deal that was zoned industrial that I thought ended up thinking that it was going to be a good fit for truck parking, and went to the municipality and was talking to them about what I was thinking, how many spaces, and they said that although it's zoned industrial, they're not going to support it. They don't think anyone in the area is going to support it, which that's around the time the light bulb went off. On like, everyone's telling me it's a great investment. The municipality's telling me they don't want more of it. I wonder if this is happening, across the US. This was in Florida. I wonder if this is kind of happening everywhere. And so that sent me on a journey of really understanding, what's going on in truck parking, and ultimately led me to creating Truck Parking Club in 2022 as a marketplace, really a different approach on helping to consolidate an industry, making it easier for drivers to find and reserve parking.
So let's go back to maybe day one, right? You realize maybe there's a problem to solve, your entrepreneurial gene kicks in. And what happens on day one and day 5 and day 10? How did you get this business off the ground?
Yeah, so from the time I found out about the truck parking issue and then the parcel that I just mentioned, as a real estate guy at the time, I thought that I was just going to raise some capital and go buy and build more real estate and just kind of outsmart the system, right? In the sense of like, there's a shortage because it's difficult to buy and build more of, and I'm somehow going to figure that out and be different. But ultimately, kind of played that out over 6 to 12 months of studying the industry, raising some capital to buy real estate and lease and buy truck parking businesses, and kind of going down that path for a brief period of time. I realized that it's going to be a really tough game to scale and create a viable business long term. So then I started looking at different ways of getting into it, and ultimately came across marketplaces. You see it quite commonly with cars, like car parking, and companies like Spot Hero and things of that nature. So I started looking into that, talked with some people that had some of their own car parking marketplaces, and ultimately went with a truck parking marketplace. And from there, built the first MVP myself, although I'm not really not that technical. Did a low code, no code MVP in Q4 2022, and then launched it late 2022, early 2023, and just put it out there. And it wasn't great, but I thought there was a shot that something cool could happen, and was fortunate to start getting some bookings in January of 2023, and just from there went all in, and had this not so great website that I grew from into the the company we are now. But I'm a big proponent of starting with a very simple minimum viable product and just letting the market show you if this is something that is something that they want, right? I mean, I think it's quite common and for someone going down an entrepreneurial path to like build a castle before you know if you even need it, and so I kind of took the opposite approach. And the only really reason I did that is just because I had studied a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and I think that's kind of the common consensus is just like put it out there, see what happens, and if you get a proof, some kind of sniff of a proof that there's something there, then you can really dive into it. So that I took a very similar approach.
Yeah, that's a really smart approach. You're ultimately building something that people need, or that solves a problem for your customers, right? Not just your idea, what you think they need. You validate what they actually need, and you validate they're willing to pay for that product, and it solves a problem for them. So tell us a little bit about, so you're talking to truck drivers and carriers, and as someone that drives around the highways, we see truck stops, we see rest stops. So it seems like maybe there's parking along the highways, but most of us don't really know unless we're driving a truck what the problem is. So help us understand what exactly is the problem with truck parking, and what are these guys telling you is the problem?
Yeah, so some of the stats are around that I'm sure you've heard. One space for every 11 trucks. 56 minutes on average to find parking on a daily basis. Billions of dollars of wasted in time and fuel. Due to inefficiencies, lack of productivity, and finding parking on a daily basis. Ultimately, that the problem has stemmed from kind of going back to how I found out about the issue. It's just not easy to create more of it, and it's in the last 5 years, it's become very expensive to build more of it. So the numbers don't make sense, right? Historically speaking, truck stops plus taxpayer dollars for rest areas, way stations, things of that nature, kind of took care of it. And now it's become quite expensive to buy and build more, even for like a mega truck stop. Going in and building a major truck stop with hundreds of spaces, that's a huge project, and probably tens of millions of dollars just to add a few hundred spaces. And the ROI is really hard to justify. Whereas in the past, historically, the parking lots were quite large. So the driver and carriers, there was, as many or more spaces than trucks on the road, and the ROI made sense for everyone involved. So now we've gotten to a place where it is incredibly expensive to buy or build more. And I think that's kind of, I think I'm answering your question. I think that's kind of why we are where we are and why the industry is in the place it is with truck parking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the stat of 11 trucks per one spot is insane. That's an insane stat. So tell us about exactly how are you solving it? What are you doing that's different? Like obviously you're probably not building massive truck stops.
Yeah, so really taking a Airbnb-esque approach, a marketplace approach where you leverage existing space, just like Airbnb leverages existing properties, and then it facilitates a great experience to both parties. We leverage existing space that's suitable for truck parking and create a great experience between that property owner that has space suitable for truck parking and a driver, which we call property members and trucker members. We bring them together, facilitate a great experience between the app, 24/7 customer service, payments all through the app, payouts are all through the app, billings all through the app, really automating the entire experience. The driver doesn't want to spend a lot of time, booking parking, getting to the parking, figuring out the parking, right? They want it to be very simple. And as well on the property owner, property member side, they want to monetize their extra space, but if they're going to have negative experiences, then it's not worth it to them, right? So Truck Parking Club's job is to bring those two people together and facilitate, great experiences every single time, right? This kind of relationship that we're facilitating in mass now is, was kind of organically happening in a very little way. Johnny knows Jimmy, who owns a spot here, and every time he goes through Midland, Texas, he parks there, right? But what we've done is essentially create that, and we're at 1,390 spaces as of today. We have 7 or 8 new locations per day, and we're able to scale into that and do this, tens of thousands of times a month, and put these parties together and facilitate a great experience, and ultimately create more parking for drivers, create more options for drivers.
Thank you. And what does it cost? And how does that cost compare to what's out there right now?
Cost is going to vary by market. Midwest, it could be $10 or $20 per day. Northeast, SoCal, NorCal, West Coast, a lot of the West Coast, you're looking at $40+ per day. I've seen it as high as $110 a day just for a space. So market determines price. Across our entire platform, we have a combination of hourly, daily, weekly, monthly bookings. Speaking specifically for daily, I think across our entire platform, it's $20 or something. It is about the average.
And how does that compare to what? If you didn't have this company offering this unique offering, what would it normally cost me as a driver out there?
Yeah, well, it didn't really exist. So there wasn't really an option. There's been some other marketplaces kind of take a stab at it. No one's really gotten past that kind of proof of concept stage. The other closest option would be some truck stops do pay truck parking. So like Pilot Flying J's, TAs, and then some of the smaller ones that we work with do pay truck parking. Our prices are all very comparable because at the end of the day, the market's determining the price. It's not really, we're gonna, Pilot's gonna be $15 and we're gonna be $35. Like that's just not gonna work, right? With such a large price difference, the market's gonna go to where they get the best price or the price that they feel is justified. So the market ultimately determines that, but historically, those are really the only options out there, and so we're there isn't really a playbook. There is not a playbook that we're really using this from or being able to compare it to. There's not like an incumbent or something that we can go and say, historically this is what this has been, and this is how they've done it, and this is how we're going to do it. There isn't really that. I would say the major truck stops are really the best example.
Gotcha. So now that you've got traction in the space, you're working with real estate owners and mostly truck drivers. Would you say are they both your customers? Who's your primary customer?
Yeah, so they're equally our customers, right? So we're a two-sided marketplace. We help truckers find and reserve parking, and property owners monetize their extra space. So on the property owner side, just to give a little more context, we've got trucking companies with extra space in their yard, tow truck companies, truck repair shops, warehouses, CDL schools, really any space that's suitable for truck parking, right? So we see them equally as in the equation as on the trucker member side, right? And we really market to both parties. We don't really necessarily see one as important as the other. We do say, we're very driver centric. Half our team is former drivers, because we are really hyper focused on solving the being a part of the solution to the truck parking issue. So, I mean, I guess if I had to choose one, we're definitely leaning toward the driver and taking care of the driver. But as far as, just like marketing and stuff, we're kind of putting things out there that'll resonate with drivers and property owners.
Yeah, I love that you've built a team just from inside the industry. People have been there, done that. Excuse me, have gotten their hands dirty. What other challenges do you see for the whole trucking industry, or at least if you think about drivers, right? Feels like the driver's job might be the hardest job. They're out there in the field. It's a harder job, especially with car hauling, lots of cars to move, manually load and unload. Other than parking, what other challenges have you observed or learned about being in the space that the drivers face?
Yeah, I'm hyper focused on truck parking, and I don't come from the space, but I do kind of surround our team, like you mentioned, half of which are former drivers, and we have some, former brokers, just former industry, biz dev people, salespeople, things of that nature. But things that I see kind of being out there. I go to a lot of shows, and my team goes to a lot of shows. It's just like dwell time, detention times, really like suboptimal experiences at shippers is like a pretty common talking point. Is like, showing up to a shipper and being there for a long time and perhaps not having access to bathrooms or parking or anything of that nature. I think that's something that I commonly hear. I think there are some companies that are tackling it, which is cool. But that's definitely something I hear a lot about is kind of detention and dwell time.
Yeah, I have a couple more questions I want to ask you about, and then I'm excited to see a quick demo and what your product looks like and how a driver would use it. But touch on what your vision is. So if everything goes well in 5-10 years, how do you see the truck parking landscape evolve over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I would say, ultimately we've got, it is kind of our own canvas, and we're kind of painting the picture as we go and creating, really, we strive to create an experience that ultimately helps the driver. Our mission is Truck Parking Club helps drivers save time and fuel by efficiently finding and reserving truck parking across the U.S. So really everything we do wraps around that. So every single decision we make needs to really be justified with that mission statement. So over the next 5 to 10 years, continuing to execute on that. And how do you execute on that? Really, it's adding more parking spaces suitable for truck parking that gives the driver a great experience. And every time the driver uses us, and every new driver that we add to our platform that uses us needs to have a great experience. And I don't see it as much more complex than that. Kind of at a high level, I do think there are a lot of technological innovations that are going to happen between gate systems, cameras, things of that nature that are coming to the forefront, especially with all the innovations that you have between cameras and gate systems in the last few years. So I think you'll see that stuff, but kind of broadly speaking, the challenge is still the same and the goal is still the same, right? Whether you have all this, quite innovative technology, the driver doesn't necessarily care, right? They want to get parked quickly, easily, safely, cheaply. And that, that's still gonna be the most important thing. But I do think, there'll be continue to be innovations, kind of very similar to what you've seen in car parking, right? Like in the past, you go to a garage, like back in the day, perhaps you're paying in cash, perhaps you're having to go to a kiosk, and that still happens. But we're getting to a point where you can enter and exit a car parking garage with really no hands-on, and a camera's doing all the work, right? And truck parking is kind of closely behind on that. But I would suspect a lot of those same things will happen.
Very cool. Let's check in on it in 5 years, see how that actually looks. My last question to you is, do you have any advice or feedback or pointers for car haulers out there navigating the parking landscape?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we feel very fortunate to have created the network we have, and we're constantly adding more locations on a daily basis, 7 or 8 new locations on a daily basis. I think just leveraging the network for when you need us is I think the biggest thing. Obviously, if you can find suitable parking for free on a daily basis, like by all means, I think that's quite normal, and you should leverage that. We are in a world where that's not always the case, and you can leverage us, speaking really specifically for like overnight parking. But we provide hourly, daily, multi-day, weekly, monthly parking options as well. Maybe you need to drop your auto. Yeah, maybe you need to drop your auto hauler, your truck in your trailer for 3 days and fly home and fly back. We have drivers use us that way all the time, right? Maybe you need to stop somewhere for a couple hours for a break for whatever reason. Maybe we have a location close to you that you can pop in and pop out, and it's convenient. It doesn't take you off your route, and it still makes sense. And I think probably the final thing I would say on that, we constantly survey our members, and our trucker members say on average they save about $13.50 per booking. So maybe they're, on average, I mentioned that they're paying $20 per booking across the entire platform for a daily booking. They're saying, but they're saving, even considering the $20, they're saving $13.50. And why is that? Well, on average, I'm sure, as you're well aware, drivers could stop hours before their clock's up because they find that free spot, right? They find that spot available at a truck stop. It's 3 p.m. They could drive till 5, 6 p.m., but they know at 5 or 6 p.m., it's going to be quite difficult to find a place to park. Well, if you leverage our network, we can get you 2 more hours down the road. You pay $20 for it, but what's 2 more hours down the road, right? So it's just educating drivers on that. And I would say, give us a shot, try that, and see if it proves true for you. If it proves true for you, maybe you found a new way to do business. All right. So here is the homepage, and it looks relatively similar from the app as well. Here's our locations across the U.S.
Oh yeah, you got pretty good coverage. You've got most of the major cities covered.
Yeah, and we continue to add 7 or 8 new locations per day. So yeah, it typically resonates. When you see the map, kind of zoom into places like Atlanta. People commonly use us in Atlanta because we have a lot of coverage. The Northeast, we've gotten pretty good density. We continue to add all the time, especially around New York and the Newark area. So let's just run through. Let's go to the view map. Here's another way to look at it as well. So I'm based in Chattanooga, and that's why you're seeing the location zoom into there.
Okay. Yeah. That's very cool. So these are these aerial shots, satellite shots of the facilities?
Some of them are, but we actually do work to get to every single location and take some nice drone photos.
This reminds me of the Airbnb early founders going out and taking nice photos of the
Yeah, setting the standard, for what we want our property members to do, right? We got reviews at the locations, videos, amenities. Oh, it didn't move over, did it? Okay. So I went to the listing page, and then I was showing these photos, the aerial photos, and then we have number of spaces available, address, description, amenities, video that shows you how to get in and out, and then reviews. And every listing is set up this way. Then I'm happy to just run quickly through a booking here. So let's say we want to start the booking tomorrow. You can book in advance. Let's say we want to stay till Thursday. Let's say we're going to get there at 6 a.m. I'm just going to go ahead and add in a vehicle that we already have, something. It has all your vehicles. These are just a bunch of test vehicles I put in the past. So this tells us information related to the booking, number of spaces, etc., total, proceed to payment. So now we have the option for card. I'm on Chrome browser, so we have the option for Google Pay. We also very recently rolled out a wallet. So we have a wallet as well. Have the ability for promo codes. We have the ability to message the member. Like, I understand, check a box, reiterates the information about your booking. So you finalize booking. And then have the ability to extend booking, share your receipt. This is very commonly used to forward. Here's all the relevant information to get into the property. Here's all the information, personal information, unlocks, vehicle information, ability to message the property member. So that's it. That's how it all works.
So you can have dispatchers booking spaces for the drivers in advance and sending it to them.
Absolutely.
I assume you have those use cases in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of fleet managers and dispatchers that use us. They'll book, well, there's actually an organization setting where you can go in. Let me see if I can quickly get to it. Yeah, so here, this is just something I made up. So you have an organization and you have the ability to add users to your organization, right? And then active members, invite user, you can add that driver. And then when you book, you choose for that driver. And then that driver gets all the information they need. Historically, we built this out in the last few weeks or a few months. Historically, it's as simple. You can also just share the information to that driver via text or email. But we're building out our organization side of things now, which is the preferred method for things to run much smoother.
Yeah, this is a very interesting company and interesting product.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I guess the final thing I would say is just clicking on listings here. So for anyone that's watching this that actually has a yard, that they have extra space, they can go to this page, which they click become property member on the top right-hand side. This has case studies, information, videos, frequently asked questions, a lot of relevant information to allow them to get educated and then actually just go ahead and add their property. You'd have to log in, but once you logged in, you could go ahead and add your property right through the site. It'll of course have to go through an approval process and someone will reach out, but you can get started with that. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I love this. I love this for anyone with storage facilities and car hauling for sure. Well, thanks for showing us the product. This is really cool. We'll make sure to link it in the description as well, so that if anybody wants to get to it, they can get to your the app as well as the website to make sure they can take advantage of it.
Awesome, man.
Well, thanks, Evan. I appreciate having you on the show. This is a very exciting company. We'll keep rooting for you. Anyone I come across that wants to know, I'm going to make sure to mention this company. It's a very cool product. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.